Hi there. I thought I'd clear up a little bit of a myth today because there's a topic that often comes up and I find myself getting into a bit of debate and conversation around, and I always kind of want to reiterate I'm not being aggressive about it at all in any way, but I want more people to understand, and this is around body image. And I know that every time you hear the words body image in the media, or often with kind of friends and family, they'll associate that word with an eating disorder. And I can understand why that happens. And we talk about it in our literature, teaching people around eating disorders, and often the two do relate, yes. But we also have to make the point that it's not always connected as a motivational factor for why somebody starts to succumb to an eating disorder. So it isn't true that 100% of people that start to have either a restrictive or a binge purge eating disorder do so because they've already got some kind of hang-up, obsession, concern about body weight and how they look in the mirror. It's just not always the case. For other people, there are other sort of reasons that they start to descend. But the point is that you have to understand that it is at the point of malnutrition and at the point that somebody starts to no longer be eating the correct amount for their body that the brain suffers and the eating disorder then is kicking in. That's where it is exhibiting itself. And if you need more proof of that, you should certainly yourself or instruct somebody else to go read about the Minnesota experiment. And the Minnesota Starvation Experiment is all about some guys who were it was the latter stages of the war, and they tested out what would happen to these guys if they prevented them from eating a significant amount of energy from what they should be consuming in their daily lives. And they put them on a terribly restrictive diet, which amounted to what a kind of restrictive eating disorder might be. And the net result was those men suffered the brain dysfunction that happens to somebody who goes into malnutrition. They became anorexic. They became eating disordered. They struggled for years afterwards, even when they were allowed to return to eating normal amounts, because the malfunction had taken place within the brain. So that's why we talk so often about the importance of recovery is not just about nutritional rehabilitation, but it's also about neural rewiring. And as was proven with these guys, these were perfectly healthy men who had never once worried about how they looked or what they'd eaten. These were meat and gravy men who'd always enjoyed their food and eaten really well. But all of a sudden, they were forcibly starved of food. And even at the point that they were allowed to eat normally again, they struggled for years to allow that brain to rewire to such an extent that they were no longer carrying out strange behaviours by obsessing about food and worrying about the amount of food that they should be eating or shouldn't be eating, or feeling that they needed to exercise more. All of that happened because the brain malfunctioned. And it only malfunctioned not because they had a hang up about the mirror or because of body image. It happened because the eating disorder had started to manifest. So it just goes to prove this is a brain illness. We mustn't get too hung up on thinking that it is only people that already have a preoccupation with body image that will succumb to an eating disorder. I really hope that helps, and I'd be interested to know what you think if you've never heard about the Minnesota Starvation Experiment. And it sounds like a really cruel experiment, but it's been kind of useful, I guess, in our understanding of eating disorders. But if you check that out and you want to share your views on that, I'd love to know what you think. All right, take care.